telling. One final tale to bring to a close our magical evening. Magical evening? Yes, you're a quick bunch. Magic, the perfect finale to a grand performance. Magic, a gift from the Titan crystals, a shimmering thread woven into the fabric of our world. Magic is an integral part of our world, but outside of those who wield it and the scholars who study it, magic largely remains a mystery. But it doesn't have to be. Outdoor scholars may use long, complex words, but if magic were to be explained in simple terms, everyone would be able to understand the basics. So, what do you say to a lovely traveling bard regaling you with her best attempt at an entertaining and lively lesson on the fundamentals of magic? That's what I was hoping to hear. Very well. Now, as you already know, the Titan crystals are the source of all magic on Prism. It was only after our ancestors discovered the crystal of vitality and tapped into its power that magical abilities started manifesting among our people. A similar story for the Eagles and Yords with their own Titan crystals. But how do the crystals bestow these magical abilities upon us? Is it through touch? Unfortunately, no. King Charles Bayan is the only known person to have gained magical abilities simply by touching a Titan crystal. Then, how do all other magic users gain the abilities? Our elder scholars have come up with a theory, one that both their Eagle and Yord counterparts concur with. In our world, the 5 Titan crystals watch over their respective nations. Once the first of their secrets has been unlocked, a fraction of their power is then unleashed in the form of continuous invisible ripples that spread across the land. Over time, each Titan crystal's power gives birth to what we call seeds of magical potential within the people of their nation. In the early years, these seeds took root in only a portion of the population. But as generations passed, more and more were born carrying these seeds. Today, everyone has this seed of magical potential within them. Does this mean that everyone is able to cast magic? No, everyone has the potential to wield magic. The seed is just the spark. Just like how your hand can hold onto a sword, but it would take years of training to wield that sword effectively in battle. Only those whose seeds bloom gain the ability to wield magic. But how do these seeds of magical potential bloom? How is this hidden power awakened? Through study, years and years of rigorous, unrelenting study. And that's just to cast the simplest of magics. To command the greater magics, one must devote a lifetime to its pursuit. Does that mean if 2 separate individuals dedicate their lives to the study of magic, both will become equally adept at commanding it? No, it's not merely about time spent poring over tomes and teachings. That's the matter of aptitude. Some simply have more of it than others. It's about the intelligence to grasp the mysteries and intricacies of magic. The discipline to endure years, decades of relentless study, even in the face of failure. The obsession to push far beyond the limits of body and mind. And the strength of will to keep the magic from consuming you, from burning you out hollow. This is the path magic users must take to awaken the power within them. It is the tried and tested path of formal training. It is known as the path of the Magus. But there is another path, a more dangerous path, the path of the Wilder. Wilders have a more instinctive aptitude for magic, enough that they learn to wield it without the need for formal training. They cast magic by instinct, without necessarily understanding the intricacies of the spell casting. Due to their lack of formal training, most Wilders can only command the lesser magics. Of these, most can only cast a single spell, often a minor one at that. This lack of formal training also results in Wilders lacking control and discipline in their spell casting, which leads to a greater risk of burning out from the magic they wield. This can and has resulted in many a Wilder's early demise. Now, whether they take the path of the Magus or the path of the Wilder, when the seed blooms, the magical abilities a magic user receives are heavily influenced by the unique power of their nation's Titan crystal. For example, the crystal of lucidity is far more likely to grant the Aegos wind magic than any other elemental magic. The crystal of vitality is far more likely to grant us Curastians fire magic than any other elemental magic. But that doesn't preclude magic wielders in a nation with a Titan crystal from gaining a type of magic not typically associated with that Titan crystal. Although very rare, there are Aegon magic users who wield fire magic and Curastian magic users who wield wind magic. The majority of magic users wield just one type of magic. Those who can wield two types number far fewer. There have even been a handful of individuals wielding 3 or more types, with one of them being, of course, our very own King Charles Bion. No one, not even our Eldor scholars, knows why this is so. Best guess is that it has something to do with an individual's magical aptitude. Mastering a single magic type takes years, decades of study. What more 2 or 3? Perhaps in some individuals, the seed of magical potential takes root more deeply than in others. For now, we have no answers, only questions. There, those are the very basics of magic. Now that you've learned the basics, let's move on to the next level. To better understand the intricacies of magic, we need a framework, a way to explain the different types of magic, how common they are, and all the other finer details that come with wielding magic. Fortunately, such a framework already exists. Who created this framework? Well, when it comes to the pursuit of knowledge and the crafting of theories and frameworks to explain it, none are better than the Aegils. In the rarefied heights of Regel City, an enigmatic assembly of the Aegils' most brilliant minds was tasked with formulating a grand, overarching theory of magic. And thanks to the Aegils' long lifespans, they've been working on it for centuries. They are the Arcanum Collective, among the finest of the Aegils' most gifted minds, revered for their deep understanding of the many aspects of magic. In the year 1835 AA, after centuries of relentless study and endless setbacks, the Arcanum Collective unveiled their unifying theory of magic, a groundbreaking framework designed to weave together the many diverse facets of magic in our world. It was a working theory, one that had been subjected to years of rigorous testing. They called this magic framework the Wheel of Magic. Despite its significance, the wheel of magic remained largely unknown outside the circles of magic scholars and academicians for a handful of years after its unveiling. But the Arcanum Collective has been refining and expanding this framework over the years. Now that they consider it reliable, they have begun sharing it beyond academic circles. Naturally curious about the powers they wield, magic users were the first to study the will of magic and put it to the test. Awareness of the framework among the common folk has spread far more slowly, but magic scholars believe it will one day be as widely known as the gods themselves. It may look complicated at first, but once I walk you through how it works, it will all make so much sense. The wheel of magic is divided into concentric circles, each representing a tier of magical power. The circles grow more powerful as you move toward the center. The further a magic user advances along the path of magic, the deeper into the wheel they can reach. Now, let's take a look at each of the circles. The outermost circle, or first circle, is known as the Circle of Foundation. It represents a magic user's control over the physical and spiritual aspects of magic. It is called the Circle of Foundation because, to cast any magic at all, the magic user must have at least an adequate foundation in one of these two aspects. Therefore, anyone who wields any magic at all, even the weakest of magic users, has access to this circle. The second circle is known as the Circle of Elements. It represents the magic user's mastery over the 8 different base elements: fire, water, wind, earth, electricity, plant, life, force. The Circle of Elements can be further divided into 2 concentric circles. The outer circle is known as the Minor Circle of Elements. For many wielders who can cast only a single minor spell, this is the highest tier they can access. Those who can access the Major Circle of Elements have more mastery over the elements and can cast more powerful spells, often to devastating effect. The third circle is known as the Circle of Ascendance and marks a notable leap in magical ability. While magic from the first and second circle grants the magic user the ability to affect the world through external forces, those who can access the third circle and beyond can wield magic that affects change internally, typically leading to self-transformation and personal empowerment, magic that brings about changes to the magic user's emotions, body, mind, or soul. A magic user who wields earth magic and can access only the first 2 circles could call forth a shield of stone to protect themselves from an enemy's attack. Against the same attack, another magic user who also wields earth but can access the third circle could cast a stone skin spell over themselves, turning their flesh hard as stone. Next, we have the fourth circle, also known as the Circle of Duality. It represents an understanding of the nature of duality as a harmonious whole, the interplay of interdependent opposites that defines the natural world. Much of the fourth circle's more esoteric concepts and the names for the circle's halves were drawn from classical Amerindian philosophy. Yang, this half represents activity, warmth, dryness, light, positivity. Yin, this half represents passivity, cold, wetness, darkness, negativity. Some unfamiliar with classical Amerindian philosophy might refer to yang as light and yin as darkness. But this is an oversimplification. Labeling yang as good and yin as evil is also incorrect, as neither are inherently good or bad. They are simply interdependent opposites that define one another. The fifth circle, the innermost circle, known as the Circle of Ethal. This circle has been challenging for the Arcanum Collective to fit into the framework, chiefly because not much is known about the true nature of Ethal or the way it works. Ethal is hard to define. Magic users who have drawn upon Ethal have remarked that it feels akin to being submerged in a rough torrent of ice-cold liquid emptiness that resists attempts to control it. Some have described it as being plunged into a raging river of void. To wield Ethal, to get it to do what you want it to do, requires reaching out to powerful eddies within the river, which have also been described as pockets within the Ethal. Plunging into Ethal and then reaching out to the correct pocket is a formidable challenge for even the most accomplished magic users. It demands an extraordinary degree of finesse, precision, and control. As of now, we know very little about these pockets. What we do know is that those who are capable of accessing the Circle of Ethal must reach out to these pockets and attune themselves to the pocket's unique resonance in order to produce magical effects that cannot be achieved with the magics of the other circles. In this sense, Ethal can be seen as a gateway to wield magics not found in any other circle. But as to what these pockets are, or just how many there are within Ethal, or even whether there are more pockets within pockets, we know very little. Until the Arcanum Collective uncovers more about Ethal and these pockets, the Wheel of Magic's innermost circle will remain a mystery even to those who can access it. There, those are the 5 circles. As I mentioned earlier, the circles grow more powerful as you move toward the center of the wheel. This has led to some thinking of the outer circles as the lesser circles, and those closer to the center as the greater circles. These terms can be somewhat misleading, as magic in the lesser circles are versatile and the most widely used, forming the foundation of many spells. Those greater circles, though undeniably more powerful, tend to be more specialized in their use. Alright, now we're ready to move on to spellcasting. Which circles does a magic user access when casting different spells? Let's say we're a magic user able to wield fire magic. We're casting a very simple spell. We want to use our fire magic to heat up some food. The spell would draw upon both the physical side of the Circle of Foundation and the fire element from the minor Circle of Elements. We may have access to fire from the major Circle of Elements as well, but since we're using fire magic to create a very minor effect, we're only drawing from the minor Circle of Elements. Okay, now let's use our earlier example. The magic user who can wield earth magic casting a stone skin spell over themselves. The spell would draw upon the physical side of the Circle of Foundation, then the earth element from the Circle of Elements. Unlike the previous spell in which we used magic to warm up food, this spell requires a more powerful mastery over elemental magic, so it covers the earth element from both the minor and major Circle of Elements. And finally, the body quadrant on the Circle of Ascendance. because we're turning the flesh of our body as hard as stone. Yes? Oh, ice magic? Ice magic is what we call a sub-elemental magic. Sub-elemental magic requires the fusion of at least 2 of the 8 base elements. Ice magic requires the fusion of water and wind magic. Alright, why don't we make our next magic user an extremely powerful ice mage who can access the circle of Ethal? While the magic user who casts stone skin made their skin hard as stone, our ice mage wants to go one step beyond. She wants to become living ice and be able to reconstitute her body should she be on the receiving end of a blow powerful enough to shatter her ice form. This spell would draw upon the physical side of the circle of foundation. Then both the water and wind elements from the circle of elements. Such a powerful spell draws upon both the minor and major circles. Because we're turning our entire body into living ice, we draw upon the body quadrant on the circle of ascendance. This is a more powerful spell, so we're drawing from the circle of duality. From the yin half, because we're dealing with coldness, the loss of warmth in our physical form, and we're trying to achieve a delicate balance between that coldness and the warmth of our environment. Finally, for that part of the spell which focuses on being able to reconstitute our form should a foe land a blow strong enough to shatter it, we would have to draw upon Ethal. This can get a little tricky because each pocket within Ethal is profoundly unique, so we would have to draw upon the one that will give us the effect we want. Perhaps a pocket that significantly increases the force that holds all the elements of our physical body together, so that even if all those elements were to separate, this holding force would pull all those elements back together. Such a powerful manifestation of magic will require an exquisite degree of control, not only when wielding Ethal, but when it comes to getting the balance between all the different parts of the spells, which are represented on the different circles, just right. And that brings me to a very important aspect of magic and spell casting. Getting the balance right is no small feat. The more circles you access to cast a spell, the harder it is to get the balance just right. It's relatively easy to get the balance right when you're just using fire magic to warm up your food. But it is physically and mentally taxing to maintain the balance required for the ice form spell, which requires accessing all 5 circles. Magic users may refer to this maintaining of the balance as getting the balance right or achieving balance. To add yet another level of complexity, the wheel of magic turns. As a whole, yes. But so do the individual circles, and at different speeds. The circles turn progressively faster as you move toward the center. This means the 5th circle turns the fastest, which might also explain why it's more difficult to wield Ethal. So, not only does our ice mage have to get the balance between all the circles right, her spell cannot last for long since all the circles are turning and at different speeds. Eventually, balance will be lost, which results in the spell ending. Trying to hold onto that balance while the wheel of magic turns can lead to extreme physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual exhaustion. Pushing too far may even lead to lasting damage or death. How long a magic user can hold onto that balance before succumbing to exhaustion or damage, and how much they can endure, well, that depends on the individual. Alright, now let's talk about patterns. We've already seen the pattern a spell casts upon the wheel. This pattern represents the magic from each circle that the magic user draws upon when casting a spell. Since different spells draw upon different types of magic, the pattern each spell casts upon the wheel will be different. Each magic user also casts a pattern on the wheel. A magic user's pattern is the entirety of the magic they are able to cast. If the magic user can only cast one spell, the pattern of that spell will match the user's pattern exactly. If the magic user can cast multiple spells, then the pattern they cast on the wheel will be larger than the pattern cast by one of their spells. If the magic user grows stronger in their magical powers, the pattern they cast on the wheel gets larger as well. Therefore, asking a magic user what pattern they cast on the wheel of magic could be seen as asking how powerful they are. The Arcanum Collective have identified 6 broad patterns that magic users might cast on the wheel. These archetypes aren't strict classifications. They're simplified references meant to help scholars and academicians compare overall power and versatility at a glance. They are not intended to be official labels to box magic users in. A magic user's pattern on the wheel is unique and can shift over time as a magic user's power grows, or more rarely, wanes. So, remember, these 6 archetypes are academic tools, not absolute truths. And believe me, there are plenty of magic users out there who are far too proud of their magical prowess to ever let themselves be pinned down by some scholar's label. Magical duels have broken out over less. So, here are the 6 caster pattern archetypes, from the weakest to the most powerful. First up, we have the Specs. Specs are magic users who can cast only a single minor spell, one spell that makes up their entire magical arsenal. In most cases, it's a spell useful for everyday living, but lacking the power for combat. This is reflected on the wheel, where Specs can only access one element on the minor circle of elements. Specs are the most common category of magic users. Many wilders are Specs and remain Specs across their lifetimes. Uncle Lem, who spends his days tending to his fields and cattle, is a Spec. He can cast just one minor spell, a warming spell, which he uses to warm up his meals or make mulled wine in winter. Next up, we have the Drops. Drops are magic users who are able to cast one strong spell, along with perhaps 2 or 3 minor ones. Their strongest spell is usually one suited for combat. On the wheel, most drops have access up to the major circle of elements with control over just a single element. Drops are the second most common category of magic users after Specs. If they never progress further along the path of magic, drops tend to become very good in the use of their strongest spell. A good example of a drop would be the bandit mage found roaming the wilderness, far from the iron reach of the law. Often the sole magic user in the bandit group, their spells serve as a valuable tool for whatever nefarious schemes the crew cooks up. Now, we come to the Waves. Waves are magic users who can cast multiple strong spells. Although they only have access up to the major circle of elements, they have full or near full control over at least one element. Waves who are strong in 2 elements are very rare, but not completely unheard of. If they never progress further along the path of magic, Waves often go on to achieve mastery or near mastery over their element. A fantastic example of a wave would be the elder recluse who lives on the outskirts of Pompon village, Leader Haman. No, that's not his title. That's actually his first name. Well, he was once the leader of the Draconian Order. But he is retired now, and apparently turned over a new leaf, spends most of his time tending to his garden. He doesn't use his fire magic often these days, but leader Haman is capable of unleashing multiple fireballs at once, and he also has a very powerful spell that sends multiple orbs of fire plummeting to the ground, bursting into fiery flames upon impact. Well, maybe it's a good thing he's left his evildoer days behind him. Magic users from the remaining 3 archetypes can access magic from the 3rd circle or even beyond. While this usually means they can cast more powerful magic compared to the drops and waves, remember what I said earlier? That magics from the greater circles tend to be more specialized in their use, while those from the lesser circles are more widely used and versatile. That still holds true. Creative, clever, and well-timed magic can absolutely trump sheer power. That said, these next 3 archetypes do have access to more powerful magic. And when you combine that with the fact that they're far less common than the first 3 archetypes, it's no surprise that magic users in these categories tend to stand out from the rest. The first of the 3 remaining archetypes is the needle. Needles are so called because the pattern they cast on the wheel resembles a needle. They can access a thin, narrow band of magic on each circle, which tapers off sharply at the highest tier. That makes them highly specialized magic users. They may have access to higher level magic, but their magical arsenal is limited. In this way, they're similar to specs. While specs know just one minor spell, needles know a more powerful one, and maybe 1 or 2 variations of it, but that's the extent of their magical toolkit. A good example would be the head scholar Taisha in Aldor City. She used to be a priestess of Eolin, but now that she's busy leading her team of Aldor scholars in researching the next generation of golems, she doesn't use her healing magic quite as often. Taisha can cast healing magic upon both herself and others. She can vary both the strength of the spell and, if she's not healing herself, the distance she needs to be from the one she heals, but not much beyond that. It makes her incredibly useful when you're treating the wounded, but not as much when you're trying to clear a dungeon full of goblins. Her magic is a powerful tool, but also a highly specialized one. The second of the 3 remaining archetypes is the branch. The pattern branches cast on the wheel resembles, surprise, surprise, a tree branch. They can access a broader band of magic on the outer circles, but their access on the inner circles tapers off into multiple, narrower bands. This means that while branches tend to have a more specialized magical arsenal, they can also wield multiple types of magic across both the inner and outer circles, making them more versatile than needles. Typically, this translates to branches being more powerful than needles. There's a summoner out there by the name of Raziel, or Raz as she's more commonly known. I've crossed paths with her several times during my journeys across the spine. She carries a deck of summoning cards, which acts as an arcane focus for her magic. When she channels her magic into the deck of cards, she can summon the spirits of heroes from the past. Guardians, she calls them. Her magic weaves corporeal shells these spirits can house themselves in for the duration of the spell. And because they then have physical forms, her guardians can dish out physical, tangible damage. Raz can also channel her magic into bolts to blast her foes, giving her an alternative means of attack and ensuring she's not completely reliant on her guardians for protection. The last archetype is the cloak. Yes, the pattern they cast on the wheel resembles a cloak, with a flowing body that spreads across broad areas on multiple circles. Cloaks almost always have access to the circle of Ithal. The part of the pattern that falls on the circle of Ithal is the hood of the cloak. Given their access to multiple types of magic, cloaks are among the most powerful magic users, with a magical arsenal that is both powerful and versatile. Suffice to say, there aren't a lot of cloaks out there. One of the most well-known was a young man by the name of Iwo, who took part in the Fourth Kings League, which started in 1830 AA. Wielding incredible mastery over ice and lightning magic, he made easy work of the prestigious tournament. But for some unknown reason, after defeating the equally powerful Lazuli, a former grand priestess of the goddess Eolin, who had until then lived for 400 years thanks to her dark magic, Iwo suddenly sails off into the Halcyon, never to be seen or heard from again. So there you have it, the 6 caster pattern archetypes. When it comes to magic users and their powers, we have a variety across the board. Now, I'll share one last aspect of magic that's represented on the wheel. It has been observed, not just by the Arcanum Collective, but also by the outdoor scholars and their counterparts in Helix and Amarane, that there are years where more magic users walk the land. Whether they tread the path of the Magus or the path of the Wilder, their numbers swell. Magic flourishes across our lands. Spellcasting comes easier. Magic is strong, dependable, concordant. In other years, the number of magic users dwindles. Casting spells becomes trickier. Getting the balance right or achieving balance becomes a challenge. Spells are more likely to trigger unexpected, sometimes chaotic effects. Magic is capricious, unruly, wild. The Arcanum Collective believes these changes are caused by the turning of the wheel of magic. As the wheel turns, it carries our world through 2 different phases or states. When magic blooms and flourishes, when we see more magic users and more powerful ones walking the lands, the wheel is in its dawn phase. When magic grows stubborn and chaotic, when spell casting becomes unreliable, when there are fewer magic users overall, especially those wielding the greater magics, we are in the dusk phase. We do not yet know why these phases occur. Perhaps, just like the weather, they are simply part of nature, a seasonal aspect of magic. But, unlike with the seasons, there is no set time between dawn and dusk phases. According to the Arcanum Collective's historical records, a phase might last just a handful of years or decades. Right now, the Arcanum Collective believes we are in a dawn phase, which began sometime around the turn of the current century. Perhaps in time, the Arcanum Collective, or someone else, will figure out a way to predict the beginnings and ends of these phases. For now, the only way we'll know we've entered a dusk phase is when our magic starts to go awry. Or, given how brief our lives are, at least compared to the Aegles, you and I, we might never witness a dusk phase. And maybe that's for the better. But who am I to speak of such things? I'm just another pattern on the wheel of magic, indelibly bound to it as it turns through the seasons and the years to come. For now, I'll just enjoy every moment of my life in this great big, gloriously beautiful world we live in. And I wish the same for you. Everything you've heard tonight is but a small fraction of what Prism has to offer. I hope all of it is enticement enough for you to take that first step into the wider world, to embrace adventure, to meet the colorful cast of characters from the fireside tales of Daring Do, to lay eyes upon majestic nature and give it leave to take your breath away. May that be the first of many more steps to come. For that is how all great journeys and grand adventures begin. By being brave and taking that first step.